Imagine this scenario. It plays out, well, probably countless times every single day. You've got a tech problem, right?
Yeah.
Maybe your Wi-Fi is being weird, or you're locked out of an important account.
Yeah. Happens to everyone.
Exactly. So, like millions of us, you open up your browser, type in a search for tech support for, whatever company it is, and you click what looks like the most official link.
Yeah.
Usually the top one, maybe an ad,
The one that looks right.
and it takes you to a page that looks perfect. It looks exactly like Microsoft's support site, maybe Facebook's help center, everything, the address bar, the logos, the layout, it all seems completely legit.
Okay.
Then maybe a phone number pops up, prominently displayed. Sometimes it's even like pre-filled into a chat window saying, call us now or something.
Right. Urging you to connect.
So you dial it. You're expecting a helpful, real representative.
Yeah.
But then, minutes into the call, they're asking for remote access to your computer. Or worse, asking for sensitive financial stuff. Banking logins, credit card numbers.
The classic tech support scam. We've all heard those warnings, right? We sort of thought we knew the playbook. Fake sites, cold calls.
We did. But here's the twist, the really insidious part that makes this new wave so much more dangerous. What if that official link, the one you clicked, what if it actually did take you to the brand's legitimate official website?
Wait, so not a fake site, the real deal.
The real deal. No shoddy imitation, no misspelled domain. You're on Microsoft.com or Facebook.com or wherever.
Okay, that's scary.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. This isn't just like a small evolution of an old scam. It feels like a huge leap in deception. Criminals aren't just relying on creating those fake websites anymore, the ones maybe we're getting better at spotting.
Right.
They're finding these really ingenious ways to hijack legitimate ones, using clever manipulation that makes it almost impossible for an unsuspecting person, maybe someone stressed about their tech problem, to tell the difference.
So our mission today is really to pull back the curtain on this. How does this actually work? Why is it so effective for the scammers? And most importantly, what can you actually do to protect yourself?
Exactly. We want to give you the inside track on this evolving threat. It feels like a constant digital arms race sometimes.
It really does. And this deep dive is brought to you by Stonefly. They're a leader in enterprise storage, backup and disaster recovery, AI storage, and cloud solutions.
That's right. And when it comes to protecting your valuable data, Stonefly provides secure, ransomware-proof, air-gapped, and immutable storage options.
So if you're looking for that robust enterprise-level data protection, you can visit sales@stonefly.com to schedule a demo.
Okay, so looking at this new kind of unsettling landscape,
Yeah.
how did we even get here? What was the journey for these scams? Because they didn't start this
It was a
sophisticated, right?
For years, tech support scams were pretty basic. You'd get those cold calls, right?
Yeah.
Someone claiming to be from Microsoft, maybe Apple, saying, oh, your computer's sending error messages.
Yeah, I remember those. Usually pretty easy to hang up on.
Then they got a bit smarter. We started seeing malicious online ads. They'd pop up with scary warnings, your PC is infected, or promise unbelievable deals, anything to get you to click.
And those ads would lead you to a fake scam website, one designed to look real.
Exactly. Often cleverly designed, mimicking the real brand's look and feel. And once you were on that fake site, the whole game was to push you towards a phone call.
Right, either for some fake investment thing or more often the tech support where they try to get remote access or get you to pay for fake services.
Precisely. But what's truly fascinating and frankly, quite alarming now is how they've twisted that model. They've introduced this really innovative new tactic.
It is.
Instead of needing to build and host those fake websites, these new Google search ads, and they look just like regular ads, they actually direct you straight to the official pages of big legitimate brands. Microsoft, Facebook, Netflix, you name it.
So you click the ad and you land on the actual, say, Microsoft support page, not a fake one.
Yes, the real page. This is the game changer for them. They're leveraging the very trust we place in those established brands against us.
Okay, that sounds like, I don't know, digital witchcraft or something. How on earth do they pull that off? How do they get their scam phone number onto a real, legitimate company's website without, like, hacking their entire server?
It's less witchcraft, more clever exploitation of a common, often overlooked web feature. It's technically called a search parameter injection attack.
Search parameter injection. Okay, break that down.
All right. So most legitimate websites, especially the big corporate ones or support sites, have an internal site search function, right? A little search bar to help you find stuff on that specific site.
Yeah, of course. Use them all the time.
What scammers exploit here is something called poor sanitization in those internal search engines.
Tour sanitization. Okay, for our audience, we get input validation generally, but what's the specific vulnerability here? How does that let a scammer plant their stuff on a trusted site?
It really comes down to how well the website checks the data you send it, even a simple search query. Good code should sanitize that input, basically. Check it meticulously, scrub it clean of anything weird or unexpected, like malicious code or, in this case, a phone number formatted in a certain way.
So poor sanitization means the website isn't checking carefully enough.
Exactly. The scrubbing isn't thorough, so the scammer crafts a special malicious URL. This URL includes their own content, like their fake support phone number, embedded right into what looks like a legitimate search query for that site.
So the malicious part is in the link itself, the one the Google ad points to.
Precisely. When you click that ad, your browser sends that malicious URL to the real website. The real website's internal search function, because it has poor sanitization, doesn't filter out the scammer's embedded phone number. It just processes the whole thing as a search request. And then the real website displays the results of that search, which now includes the scammer's injected phone number right there on its own page. It often blends seamlessly with the legitimate content, maybe looking like the official contact number in the search results box.
Wow. Okay, so let me see if I've got this. I search Microsoft Tech Support on Google. I click an ad that looks like it's from Microsoft. It takes me to the actual Microsoft 365 website. But because that link I clicked had this hidden malicious part.
The parameter injection.
Right. The internal search results that immediately pop up on Microsoft's own site are rigged. They show a scammer's phone number instead of the real Microsoft one.
You got it. It completely relies on the trust we place in that Microsoft logo, that familiar website layout, that legitimate URL in the address bar. It's a profound misuse of digital trust.
And you said this wasn't just theoretical. They've seen this happen.
Oh, absolutely. It's been observed in the wild. We've seen this exact scenario play out on Microsoft 365 sites and also on other Microsoft properties like Microsoft Learn. That's their big site for training and documentation. It's subtle, but the visual deception is powerful.
Because it looks so normal. An inexperienced user or even someone experienced but just, in a hurry or stressed.
They'd likely find it incredibly difficult to spot the scam. The fake number just looks like part of the official page.
And I remember reading something about Facebook being hit with this too. That really shows the scale.
That's right. Facebook was another huge target. Scammers successfully used Google Ads to inject fake phone numbers into Facebook's internal site search results.
Did Facebook fix it?
They did. To their credit, Facebook moved relatively quickly once it was identified, and they implemented fixes to prevent that specific type of manipulation. We saw examples, screenshots, really where the fake number was clearly visible, injected onto their page, and then later, after the fix, the same technique just didn't work anymore.
Which is good news. It shows companies can patch these holes.
Yes, but it also highlights that it's often a reactive process. The vulnerability exists, it gets exploited, then it gets fixed. It's that constant cat-and-mouse game.
And the truly insidious part, the thing that gives the victim that totally false sense of security, is looking up at the browser's address bar. It still shows the real, legitimate site URL, right? Like help.netflix.com or support.microsoft.com.
Exactly. There's no Microsoft support-scam.xyz or anything obviously suspicious like that. The website is the real one.
But the information displayed on it has been tampered with. The search results are poisoned, as some researchers put it.
That's a very good way to describe it. The well has been poisoned, even though the well itself looks fine.
So this obviously leads to the question, why go to all this trouble? Why is this specific tactic such a criminal masterstroke? What advantages does it give scammers over just setting up a fake website?
Well, several key advantages. Think about the costs, first off.
Right. Building and hosting fake websites, buying domains, maybe SSL certificates, that all adds up. Plus the risk of getting shut down quickly.
Precisely. With traditional scams, there's overhead. Domain registration, server rental, website development and maintenance, infrastructure. But with this search parameter injection method,
Their main cost is just paying for the Google ad.
pretty much, yeah. Their only significant direct expense is the ad itself. They don't need to invest in building or maintaining malicious web infrastructure. This makes the whole operation much cheaper to run.
Which means it's more accessible to more scammers, potentially. Lower barrier to entry.
Absolutely. It dramatically improves their potential profit margins and allows them to scale up attacks more easily. It's a very lean, efficient business model for fraud.
Okay, so it's cheaper. What about detection? This must be a complete nightmare for security tools, right? If the domain itself is legitimate.
It is a major blind spot. Traditional security tools are often built around identifying and blocking suspicious domains or analyzing traffic patterns to known malicious sites.
But here, the domain is Microsoft.com or Facebook.com. It's trusted.
Exactly. So, since the user is ultimately redirected to a perfectly legitimate website, many automated security tools struggle to flag these ads or the resulting traffic as malicious. There's no separate bad domain to block or blacklist.
Even tools that scan ads might miss it.
They might, because the final destination URL listed in the ad often points to the real brand site. The malicious payload, that parameter injection, is sort of hidden within that legitimate-looking URL. So unless the tool is specifically designed to analyze those parameters for injected content, it might just say, oh, it's going to Microsoft.com, that's fine.
Wow. That presents a huge challenge for existing detection systems. It forces a rethink of how you spot malicious intent when the destination looks safe.
It really does. It bypasses a lot of standard defenses.
Okay, so it's cheaper for them, much harder to detect. But the biggest advantage, I'm guessing, has to be how incredibly convincing it is to the victim.
That's the psychological masterstroke, yes. Injecting their fake phone number directly into the search results on a trusted brand's actual website gives the scammer an enormous credibility boost.
Because why wouldn't you trust a number you see on the official Microsoft support page?
Exactly. Especially for someone less tech-savvy, or maybe someone who's panicked or just in a hurry. Seeing that number right there on the official site, it feels, well, official. They just assume it's the right number.
It leverages our built-in trust for these big brands.
It's powerful social engineering. The seamless integration of the fake number into that real, trusted environment bypasses critical thinking. It preys on that innate trust we have. It's a really sophisticated abuse of brand reputation.
And the potential for abuse seems huge, too. Large companies don't just have one website. They have tons of different portals, right, for different products, services, regions.
Yeah, you've hit on a really critical point there. Think about a company like Microsoft. You've got Microsoft 365, Microsoft Learn, Xbox support, Azure portals, developer networks, regional sites. The list goes on.
And each one might have its own internal search function.
Very likely. And each of those internal search functions, if it suffers from that poor sanitization vulnerability, represents another potential entry point for scammers.
So it's not just one door they're trying to pick. It's like a whole building full of potentially unlocked doors within the same company.
That's a great analogy. It dramatically expands the attack surface. And while phone numbers are the most common thing they inject, because getting you on the phone is usually the goal, the technique itself isn't limited to that.
What else could they inject?
Potentially, they could inject fake email addresses, maybe links to other malicious sites, though often these are displayed as text, not clickable links, or other misleading information. It diversifies their methods and makes defending against it even harder.
Okay, this is painting a pretty bleak picture.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know about the actual scale of this problem?
Mm-hmm.
Is this just a few isolated incidents, or is it really widespread?
The research we've seen, particularly from a predictive security firm called B4AI, suggests it's disturbingly widespread. They did an analysis focusing on the internal site search features of the top 50 U.S.-based companies in the Fortune 500 list.
Okay, the biggest players across different industries.
Yeah, retail, banking, automotive, energy, the whole gamut. And their findings were, well, pretty shocking.
How bad?
A staggering 86%. That's 43 out of those 50 major companies were found to be vulnerable to this exact type of search parameter injection attack.
86%. Almost all of them.
Almost all of the top 50 they analyzed. Their internal search functions could theoretically allow scammers to inject fake phone numbers via crafted URLs.
That number is just, wow.
Yeah.
It suggests a massive systemic vulnerability across the board.
It really does. And what's even more concerning is that for 32 of those vulnerable websites, the injected fake phone numbers weren't just hidden away, they were displayed prominently on the page.
Making it much more likely someone would actually see it and call it.
Exactly. It drastically increases the likelihood of users falling for the scam. This widespread vulnerability really reveals a persistent blind spot, doesn't it? Even in major corporations with huge security budgets.
It seems like basic website hygiene, like checking inputs properly, is being overlooked.
It certainly suggests that. While companies focus on, massive external breaches or sophisticated network attacks, they might be neglecting the security of these seemingly simple user-facing features like internal search.
And they're leaving a critical backdoor open that leverages their own brand trust against their users. It's not just a technical flaw, it's a strategic blind spot.
Well put. And it's not just theoretical. This technique is actively being used against household names, brands that billions of people use every day.
Like who? You mentioned Microsoft and Facebook.
Yeah, but also eBay, Apple, Netflix, HP, even major banks like Bank of America and payment platforms like PayPal. The list is extensive.
These are companies where people often need urgent support, right? Locked accounts, payment issues. People are vulnerable when they seek help for those things.
Precisely. These brands are high-value targets because of their huge user base and the critical nature of their services. When someone's desperate for help, their guard might be down, making them prime targets for this kind of social engineering.
And the financial cost is just astronomical, isn't it? What are the latest figures on losses from tech support scams overall?
They're staggering. According to the FBI's 2023 Internet Crime Report, tech support scams collectively accounted for losses of around $924 million.
Nearly $1 billion.
Yeah.
Just from tech support scams.
Just from reported tech support scams. And it's not just the total. The average loss per victim has been skyrocketing.
I remember hearing about that jump. It was significant.
It really was. Back in, say, 2019, the average loss was around $4,000 per victim. By 2020, that average had jumped by 140% to about $9,500. And by 2022, the reported average loss hit its highest point yet, an average of $24,800 per victim.
$24,000. That's devastating. That's life-altering for most people.
It absolutely is. We're talking shattered finances, immense stress, endless wasted time trying to sort things out. It's a deep personal violation, not just theft.
And are there patterns in who falls victim? I know the stereotype used to be older individuals and cold calls.
That still holds true to some extent. Older individuals are statistically more likely to fall for unsolicited calls, but younger individuals, who are more likely to search online for help first, tend to be the ones visiting scam websites, or in this case, legitimate websites compromised by these injection tactics. So this newer method potentially broadens the victim pool.
And geographically.
English-speaking countries are heavily targeted. The U.S. accounts for a huge chunk, something like 58% of attempts using aggressive tactics like the tech Brillo pop-ups. Interestingly, though, India, which is often associated with the call centers running these scams, actually reports the highest rate of victims suffering financial loss. It shows the global nature of both the perpetrators and the victims.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit to the scammers themselves. It's clearly not just about this one clever injection trick. There's a whole sophisticated operation behind it. What else is in their playbook?
Well, one really telling thing research from Malwarebytes uncovered is the issue of repeat offenders and, seemingly, gaps in enforcement by ad platforms.
Meaning the same scam accounts keep popping up.
Exactly. They identified specific advertiser accounts on Google being used repeatedly for these fraudulent tech support ads. One single advertiser account was linked to over 30 reported incidents in just 3 months.
30 incidents from one account. And it wasn't shut down.
Apparently not permanently, or they were able to easily create new ones that weren't immediately linked. They keep reusing these accounts, many registered and verified by Google from places like Vietnam, according to the research.
That raises a huge question, doesn't it? Why aren't these platforms permanently blocking accounts with such a clear pattern of abuse, especially when security researchers report them?
It's a critical question. It suggests potential gaps in policy or enforcement that allow these repeat offenders to persist. It puts a heavy burden back on security companies and users to keep detecting and reporting, rather than the platform proactively removing bad actors more permanently. It feels like digital whack-a-mole.
Where the moles keep using the same hole.
Pretty much. And tactically, they often run 2 different styles of scams concurrently: aggressive and passive.
Aggressive sounds like what we were talking about earlier, the scary pop-ups.
Yes, exactly. Aggressive tech support scams, TSS, use those alarming messages, loud noises, browser locking scripts, continuous pop-ups, anything to scare you into calling immediately. The tech Brillo technique is a prime example, showing a fake warning you can't easily close.
Designed to induce panic, basically.
Right. And these aggressive sites tend to have short lifespans. Their median lifetime is maybe around 9 days before they get flagged and taken down. They're built for quick impact.
Okay, so what's a passive scam then?
Passive TSS pages are designed to look much more professional and legitimate. They use clean layouts, simple text, maybe fake certification logos or seals, brand imagery. Their goal is credibility, not panic.
So they might just look like a quiet, official-looking support page with the phone number.
Exactly. They present themselves calmly as if they are the official support for Microsoft or Apple or whoever. Their malicious intent isn't immediately obvious.
And I bet those stick around a lot longer.
You'd be right. The data suggests these passive TSS websites have a significantly longer median lifetime, think around 100 days, sometimes even over 300 days.
Wow, almost a year in some cases.
Yeah. This makes them much harder to detect with traditional rapid response takedown methods. They can sit there quietly deceiving users for months, accumulating victims steadily.
Playing a long game.
And what's really interesting is finding passive TSS domains hosted on the same servers or co-located with aggressive ones.
Meaning the same scammers are running both types?
It strongly suggests that, yes, the same criminal groups likely operate both aggressive and passive scams, maybe targeting different types of users or using them in different stages of their campaigns. It's a diversified portfolio of fraud.
That's quite sophisticated. And what about getting people to these scam pages in the first place, besides the Google ads? Are they using SEO tricks?
Absolutely. There's a whole hidden infrastructure layer involving what are called support domains.
Support domains, what do?
These domains don't actually host the final scam content themselves. They're not the page the victim ultimately interacts with to get scammed. Their job is purely black hat SEO.
Meaning they use shady tactics to manipulate search engine rankings.
Exactly. They use techniques like text stuffing, just loading pages with invisible or barely visible keywords related to tech support, and link stuffing, creating tons of links to trick search engines like Google into ranking them higher for relevant searches.
So they act like boosters to push the actual scam landing pages higher up in the organic search results.
Precisely. They're essentially manipulating search results to funnel victims towards the final scam domains. And it's kind of surprising that these fairly standard black hat techniques still work so effectively.
You'd think search engines would be better at catching that stuff by now.
You would, but it's a constant battle, and these guys are persistent. These support domains also have a decent lifespan, a median of around 60 days, often longer than the aggressive scam pages they point to.
So they're a persistent part of the infrastructure, these launchpads.
Yes. And here's another key finding that shows their sophistication. The infrastructure is often deliberately fragmented. The IP addresses and servers used for these SEO support domains are frequently completely separate, different networks, different geographical locations from where the final scam landing pages are hosted.
So shutting down one part doesn't necessarily take down the other.
Exactly. You might find a cluster of support domains doing SEO work hosted in, say, Montenegro, while the actual scam pages they redirect to are on servers in the US operated by maybe a different part of the same criminal group or even a separate contracted group.
It makes it much harder for law enforcement or security teams to dismantle the entire operation at once. It's like a distributed network.
It really is. It suggests they might be using these support domains almost like a service. Specialists handle the tricky SEO part, allowing the main scamming group to focus on the social engineering the actual con over the phone.
Wow. Okay. And with all this complexity, how well are our current defenses like blacklists actually catching this stuff?
That's maybe the most concerning part. The coverage is alarmingly low. Security researchers running automated detection systems are finding thousands of domains, IPs, and phone numbers related to these tech support scams that are simply missed by the popular public blacklists that many security tools rely on.
Missed entirely, or just detected late?
Both. Cumulatively, even the widely used blacklists only cover about, say, 27% of the malicious domains, FQDNs, involved in these scams that automated systems can identify. And even when they do list them, it's often with a significant delay, an average of 26 days after an automated system could have flagged it.
26 days is an eternity in scam terms.
It is, and it gets worse for those crucial support domains, the SEO launchpads. Less than 1% of those domains are typically found in blacklists.
Less than 1%. So that whole SEO manipulation infrastructure is practically invisible to standard defenses.
Largely, yes. It highlights a massive blind spot. Traditional blacklisting is falling significantly behind these evolving, fragmented scam infrastructures. The criminals are simply innovating faster than those defenses are adapting.
Okay, so given this complex, sophisticated, and frankly quite scary threat landscape, what does this mean for you, the listener, trying to stay safe online? What's your shield? What are the practical red flags we should be looking for?
All right, let's get practical. First, and this is crucial for the injection attacks, Always scrutinize the URL in your browser's address bar very carefully.
What are we looking for specifically?
Look for a phone number embedded anywhere in that URL string. Often it might appear after a question mark or contain unusual characters. If you see digits formatted like a phone number within the URL itself, that is a massive red flag.
Okay, phone number in the URL, bad. What else?
Be wary of suspicious search terms appearing in the URL itself, like call plus now or emergency plus support. Also, look out for lots of encoded characters, things like per20 for a space, per2b for a plus sign, especially if they appear alongside numbers. That could be a phone number. Clean, legitimate URLs usually don't look like that.
Right. And what about the page content itself?
If you land on a support page and it immediately shows you a search result before you've even typed anything into its search box, be highly suspicious. That's a classic sign of this search parameter injection technique. The malicious search query was likely in the link you clicked.
So pre-filled search results are a warning sign.
Definitely. And then there are the classic scam tactics on the page. Urgent, alarming language. Pop-ups screaming, account suspended, or virus detected, call immediately. Legitimate companies generally don't communicate critical issues that way.
And browser warnings.
Absolutely. Do not ignore warnings from your browser or your security software. If Chrome, Firefox, Edge, or your antivirus pops up a message saying a site is known for scams or phishing, take it seriously. Don't just click proceed anyway. There's usually a very good reason that warning is there.
Okay, so those are red flags for the injection scams. But what if we just find a support number online through a regular search, not necessarily via a dodgy ad? How do we verify that number is real before calling?
Great question. Independent verification is key. Before calling any support number you find online, especially through a search engine, you must try to verify it through a completely separate, trusted channel.
Like what?
Think about official communications you already have. Look at a previous bill or statement from the company. They often have official contact numbers printed there. Check the physical product, documentation, or packaging if you still have it.
What about online sources?
Be careful. Don't just search again. Go directly to the company's main official website, type the address in yourself, don't click a search link, and navigate to their official Contact Us or Support page. Or check their verified social media profiles, the ones with the blue check mark on platforms like X or Facebook, but again, navigate there directly, not via a link you found elsewhere.
And if the number you found initially differs from the number on the official site or your bill,
Trust the official source you verified independently. If the numbers don't match, assume the first one you found might be suspicious. Keep investigating until you are 100% confident you have the legitimate number. And remember this key point. Legitimate security pop-ups from real tech companies like Microsoft or Apple will never ask you to call a phone number displayed in the pop-up itself.
that's a really important differentiator. They might guide you to their website or tell you to run a scan, but not call this number now.
Exactly. That call this number prompt in a scary pop-up is almost always a scam.
Okay, but what if, despite our best efforts, we slip up, we make the call, we start feeling uncomfortable, or worse, we realize afterwards we might have been scammed? What are the immediate steps?
First and foremost, disengage immediately. If you're on a call and feel pressured or suspicious, just hang up. Don't worry about being polite. If you've granted remote access to your computer, don't wait for them to disconnect. Turn off your computer immediately by holding the power button or disconnect it from the internet. That severs their connection.
Cut them off. Got it. Then what?
Then, damage control and reporting. Immediately contact your bank, your credit card company, any online payment systems like PayPal that might have been involved or compromised. Report the fraud, freeze your cards if necessary, monitor your accounts closely.
Change passwords.
Absolutely. Change passwords for any accounts that might have been exposed, especially your banking, email, and any accounts where you might reuse passwords. Use strong, unique passwords for everything.
And the computer itself, if they had remote access.
Get it checked professionally. Take it to a trusted IT specialist or use reputable security software to do a thorough scan and ensure no malware, keyloggers, or backdoors were installed.
And finally, report the scam itself.
Yes. Report it to your local law enforcement, even if you think they can't do much. And definitely report it to the Federal Trade Commission in the U.S. That's reportfraud.ftc.gov. These reports help authorities track scam trends, identify perpetrators, and warn others. Every report helps build a bigger picture.
It sounds like a lot of the burden falls on us, the users, to be hypervigilant. But what about the companies? Their legitimate websites are being hijacked here. What's their responsibility?
That's a crucial point. Companies absolutely have a responsibility here. This isn't just a user awareness issue, it's a technical vulnerability on their end. They need to proactively identify all the places on their websites and portals that have internal search functions.
Behind all those potential entry points we talked about.
Exactly. And once identified, they must strengthen them. This means implementing proper, robust input sanitization. They need code that can detect and strip out malicious injections like phone numbers, email addresses, or URLs that scammers try to embed in search parameters.
It sounds like basic security hygiene. But given that 86% vulnerability rate you mentioned for Fortune 500s, it seems it's often neglected.
It appears so. It needs to become a much higher priority, especially for any user-facing search or input field. Companies need to defend their own digital territory more effectively against this kind of manipulation.
So, beyond the technical fixes by companies and individual vigilance, what's our most powerful tool collectively in this fight?
Ultimately, it's public awareness. Education and awareness campaigns are incredibly important. The more people understand how these scams work, especially these newer, more sophisticated ones, the more wary they become.
So just talking about it helps.
Massively. Talking about these scams with your friends, your family, particularly older relatives perhaps, your colleagues, sharing what you've learned today, for instance, is one of the best defenses we have. It turns individual knowledge into a kind of community shield.
The more people who recognize the tactics, the fewer potential victims there are.
Exactly. It reduces the scammer's success rate, which hopefully makes it less profitable and less attractive for them in the long run. Collective awareness is a powerful deterrent.
Okay, so let's recap. We've really dug into how scammers are evolving using these sophisticated tactics like search parameter injection. They're exploiting the trust we place in major brands and search engines, hijacking legitimate websites to display fake tech support numbers.
Yeah, and we've seen why it's so effective for them. It's cheaper, it's stealthier, bypassing many traditional security measures, and it's incredibly convincing to victims because it appears on a site they already trust.
It really underscores why vigilance is more critical than ever. It's a fundamental challenge to how we navigate and trust the digital world.
It really is. And it leaves us with a pretty provocative thought, doesn't it? In an age where even the most official-looking digital pathways can be subtly corrupted like this, how much responsibility can realistically fall on each individual user to constantly verify every single piece of information they encounter online?
Right, and what collective measures, going beyond the current blacklists and hoping companies fix their individual websites, do we actually need to build a genuinely more trustworthy online environment? How do we restore that basic assumption of legitimacy?
That's the big question we need to keep asking.
And a final reminder that this deep dive was made possible by Stonefly. They are the experts in secure, ransomware-proof, air-gapped, and immutable storage solutions.
So if you're looking for that enterprise-level data protection, you can contact sales at stonefly.com to schedule a demo.
Definitely worth checking out.
Stay safe out there, everyone. It's tricky.
And keep diving deep with us.